Tales of a Female College Athlete. What is it like to be a woman in college sports? Stop for a second and think of a professional athlete. Actually picture one in your mind. Most people would picture a tall, muscular man with large football pads on, a helmet, holding a football helmet, or maybe they'll picture like a 6'5" man with a basketball in his hand. Men are often recognized and celebrated in sports all over the world, and this goes for college sports as well. My name is Margaret Phelps, and the topic of this podcast today is the invisibility of women in sports, specifically spirit squads. Big quotes around spirit squads. I chose this topic myself because I am a female college athlete. I'm a junior on the University of Louisville Ladybirds, which is the dance team at U of L. The University of Louisville Athletic Department considers the dance and cheer teams of U of L as, big quotes, spirit teams. In this podcast, I'm going to share some of my experiences with the University of Louisville Athletic Department as a member of the U of L spirit teams, as well as the treatment of other dance programs at other schools and how that differs or is similar to ours. The first thing I'd like to share is about the facilities that we have to practice at. The University of Louisville Ladybirds practice at a private dance studio in Mount Washington, Kentucky. If you're unaware of where Mount Washington is, it's approximately 30 minutes from campus. It may not seem very far, but consider the fact that as a team, we practice from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. every night, both fall and spring semester. We have to practice that much because the Ladybirds are expected to perform at every football game, as well as every men's and women's basketball game. If you don't know the University of Louisville's schedule, football games during the fall are about every 2 weeks, and men's and women's basketball season starts in January and February, and goes about 2 or 3 games every week from then until the end of March. We are also expected to perform different material at every one of these games. We are usually punished or reprimanded by the athletic department if we do the same dance twice. This means we have to practice even more to get game routines together on top of preparing our own very nationals material. Secondly, I'd like to bring up that the NCAA does not recognize cheer or dance teams as actual sports. You may be thinking to yourself at this point, how is it legal that they practice that far away and that late at night? Well, there are no regulations set by the NCAA that set the guidelines for when and how long we can practice. NCAA stands for the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Their main job is to set the rules and regulations for every sport competed at a collegiate level. They also set the regulations for the budget of each sport. Since cheer and dance is an unrecognized college activity, there is no way for our schedule or budget to be dictated or controlled by the NCAA. So we practice far away and for a long time. Our budget is regulated by the school, which means we get however much or little they feel like putting in our budget. Because of this, we do not get very much money from the school, so our coaches seek outside fundraising opportunities for us in our free time that we do not have. Appearances is what we call them on Ladybirds, usually consist of us going to an event put on by the community, performing a dance, teaching a class, or taking pictures in full uniform. Sometimes these events range from 2 hours long to 6 hours long, and sometimes they're an all-weekend activity. And sometimes we don't get money for them because the school forces us to do them, and sometimes we do, which is nice. But like I said, it is a big time commitment for us. At this point, you would think we should blame our coaches for our crazy schedule, but I simply can't bring myself to do that because we have to prepare so much for everything we do. Games, appearances, there's no way we can do less practice with the same amount of quality we produce at every game, public appearance, or national title winning routine. Which brings up my next point, our national record. If you are a high school athlete being recruited by the U of L athletic department, a big part of their selling point is that the University of Louisville has over 80 national titles to their name. You would think, wow, that's amazing. I bet that's football and basketball and baseball and soccer all crammed together into one. Well, 67 of those 80 national titles belong to the cheer and dance teams. The 3 cheer teams have over 40 national titles, and the Ladybirds have 22. We are not only the most decorated program in U of L by a landslide, but U of L cheer and dance programs are the most decorated programs in the country, also by a landslide. The fact that the athletic department views those titles as theirs is interesting because they don't view our sports as theirs. Meaning that the athletic department has explicitly stated that the dance team is not a sport at U of L. This podcast is not to debate whether or not dance is a sport. Think whatever you want. But you can't deny that everything I have stated previously is that we commit a lot of time to what we do. We put a lot of effort into the school and performing for our community. And life would be a lot better if we could at least get a facility on campus or even more budget allotted to us for how much effort we put into the community and the U of L all together. Another interesting thing I wanted to bring up, this was something that was a big problem my freshman year and sophomore year, but luckily things have changed since then. Obviously, our sport requires a lot of physical activity, as does cheer, and people get hurt a lot and often. Before this year, we actually did not have an athletic trainer on our staff, and no one we could actually go see if we were injured. So we signed a petition, and we've gotten a lot of fundraising in the last 5 or 6 years. And finally this year, U of L granted us one trainer for both teams. And it's been really nice, and it does show that the more we scream and shout, maybe the more we'll get. But what does all this mean in the end? I want to make an argument for why these mega institutions like U of L and NCAA do not consider any dance team as a sport. Because cheer and dance teams have been led by and created by women. According to USA Cheer, modern day cheerleading is 85% female, while the modern day dance team is 92% female. Both of these sports have been made popular by women. Cheer and dance teams were originally made to generate crowd and team support for a game, yes. But today, it's one of the most competitive markets that a young woman can compete in, with over 150,000 participants across the country. Competitive dance and cheer require high levels of skills and require advanced athletic ability, often being compared to sports like swimming and athleticism because it's a full-body aerobic exercise. But since the sports have been made famous by women, schools often push them to the side. In 2019, before COVID, Louisiana State University Tiger Girls, the dance team, were told by the school they could not send them to nationals that year because the basketball team was going to require private jets to get to the NCAA men's college basketball tournament. Then in 21, whenever the Tiger Girls were told they could return to competition, they competed a dance entitled Like a Boy, which was basically saying, I wish dancers could be treated like boys teams because maybe we would get some recognition. This routine was the highest scoring routine at that competition that year and went viral for the same statement that it made. Because the rules have been set by men, sports created for and by women get ignored. Dance and cheer teams continue to be considered lesser than because the people who set the standards continuously fall under the spell of the patriarchy and don't support women in sports.